Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups,
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Esports Cup. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, my partner, Aaron Smith, and in the production facility, our friend and colleague, Joshua Wilkie. And the star of today's show is, of course, the Radical SR10, one of the purest sports car experiences on iRacing, propelled by a 450 horsepower Ford EcoBoost 4-cylinder turbo. And this car tips the scales at a full 1,000 pounds lighter than an MX-5 Cup car. So with no traction control and no anti-lock brakes, the SR10 can be a handful. But as I always say, mastering this car will make you better at every car that you drive. And folks, we are showing the top split of the public server here today, 2100 GMT, as we do every Friday. So this is not a public, or this is not a private event. This is not a league event. So if you would like to join us here on Apex Racing TV, all you got to do is get some practice time in, get out here 2100 GMT Friday, sign up, and if you make the top split, you will appear here on YouTube on Apex Racing TV with some of the best Radical pilots in the world. And our schedule is winding down, only 1 week remaining, but still Interlagos next week, which is a hoot in these cars. But this week, 2024 Season 4, Week 12, as you can see, we are at Sebring, which began life as Hendricks Army Airfield from 1941 to 46. And when the war ended, gearheads did what gearheads will do when they see a bunch of unused tarmac. They created a racetrack. The guilty party in this instance, an engineer by the name of Alec Ullman, whose intention was to build a endurance circuit to rival Cirque de la Sarthe in France. And the first endurance race was indeed held here in 1950. And since then, Sebring has played host to Formula One, the World Endurance Championship, IMSA, Trans Am, a huge slate of amateur track days, and many more. Today's configuration, 3.7 miles, just over 6 clicks, 17 corners, and right now we're still sitting on a record set in 2019 by Kobayashi in a Toyota LMP1. That record is 141.8. And Aaron, looking forward to this race here at Sebring. It is fun and challenging in these cars. We get a little bit of draft on the front straight. We've got to manage some rough patches. We got to manage some curbs, and maybe not a huge variety of passing opportunities. So what are you expecting out of these guys today?
Well, as always, I'm expecting the fantastic racing that we're used to in this series. It's been an amazing season, and usually we'd be saying, oh, this would be the final race of the season, but no, actually, weirdly, this season we're going all the way until next week as well, week 13, for I believe the first time ever in this series. So join us next Friday as well for Interlagos. That should be a fantastic way to end the season. But here and now at Sebring, it's no surprise that currently the Americans dominate the top 3 positions, and we could see some other Americans, the likes of Jenks and Chris Wett, get involved in the top 10 battles as well. But considering this is one of the older and most well-known tracks, not only in iRacing, but in the world, it's no surprise that we're probably going to see some very, very close times here today. Even though it's a fairly long circuit, nearly 2 minutes, the top, I believe, 14 positions are all within a second of each other, although these times are starting to improve on these second laps as Saxon goes on to provisional pole and Castro still yet to complete his lap. Barry goes up to 3rd place as he completes his lap. Ryan Odo goes on to pole position. He looks very happy as he's flashing the cameras and weaving his way across the line. That's a very, very competitive lap, nearly into the 54s for Ryan Odo. Can anyone else, like Andre Castro, can he compete for the top spot? He can't. And that's a surprise. Only a few drivers left to complete their lap times here at Sebring. And because it's such a long lap time, that second lap, you're putting a lot through the tyres. And if you push too hard, you're going to make a mistake. And it's Sebring, you're going to get punished for it.
Oh my goodness. And look at Ryan Odo almost getting into the 154s. And he is a character that I know from covering the weekend championship series. We normally don't see him on Friday, but no school today probably for Odo. And he is out here, and my goodness, he is in alien territory right now. He's taken about 3/10 or 2/10 out of the person closest to him behind. That's Nathan Saxon. And while we're completing qualifying here, I just wanted to point out, let me run through the top 10 with you real quickly. It's Barry, Castro, Friedrich, Braun, Gonzaga, Caruso, Larson, Reitman, Blanco, and Bjorklund. That is your top 10 on the season. And the interesting thing going on here, Aaron, is that Andre Castro started the season late. So he is in position to still maybe get that championship away from James Berry, who has won several of these in a row. And without going into too much detail and boring the hell out of you folks, iRacing uses drop weeks. So of the entire season, only 8 races are counted. So it's possible that Barry could win this race and not move up in points at all. And Castro burned a bunch of drop weeks early, and he actually could improve his position on the season. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Castro only about 225 or so points behind, but there is your starting grid. We're going to have Odo, as I said, on the pole next to Nathan Saxon. Andre Castro and James Berry, the championship rivals, will be in row 2 behind them. Sanchez will be next to Reitman in 5 and 6. Leon Hernandez will be next to Andreas Friedrich. Kim Andre Bjorklund will be next to Denis Kirakopoulos. Paki Caruso will be next to Myron Ianni there in 11 and 12. And let's see, where did we land? I'm completely lost. Oh, there we go. Heinz Braun will be next to George Gonzaga. Lear will be next to Hulken, and Jenks next to Vetz, and Christopher Yanakis next to Samir Kadura. And I do have to apologize to our number 14 runner, Gonzaga. I've been mispronouncing his name a couple thousand times in the last couple of years, and he straightened me out earlier today. It is George. I was thinking Spanish, and he's like, no, it's Portuguese, and that is wrong. So good luck, George, and all of our other drivers as we get ready to go here. That is Odo. He's going to have the inside line coming off the line into that sweeping left-hander there, turn 1, and very tough here, very bumpy, and very tough to get through there clean on cold tires. So we'll see what kind of start we get out of these drivers as we wait for the qualifying grid to fill up. iRacing is going to force a start here in about 20 seconds, currently waiting on Chris Vetz to join the grid, and if he doesn't do that, we will get underway without Chris. And pop, there he is. So we should have some lights up here for you in a moment. And where is Friedrich back in P8? Keep an eye on him for a hot start. He usually gets off very well in these cars, and we are green at Sebring, and Odo gets a very clean start. He's going to maintain that position. Looks like Castro might have squeezed ahead of Saxon. So heading into turn 1, we're going to have some side-by-side action. And it's Odo from Castro from Saxon. And Franco Sanchez has dropped a position, and so has James Berry. And still some more side-by-side. It's going to take a little bit to get these cars swittered out. We're about to head down into the hairpin here for the first time after we get through this little sequence of corners, and the hairpin is where we're going to see some passing happening all afternoon here, and I'm imagining we're going to see some passing on this lap as well.
Yeah, would not surprise me as well. It's a very, very clean start from all 20 of our drivers. Hopefully they can keep it clean heading down into the hairpin, and everyone trying to get one over on one another. Everyone just being as late as they can on these cold brakes and tyres, and everyone's still getting away cleanly. Very, very good job from all 20 of our drivers. That's what you get in this series. Amazing driving standards. As Sauli Reiten and trying to look up the inside of Heinz Braun, but Heinz just about keeping it around the outside of turn 10. Didn't look like there was much competition there for Ryan up at the front of the field. Castro got a very, very good start though, so perhaps maybe if he had had a little bit of a better qualifying session, he could have challenged Ryan off the start of the grid. But it's a good start from the likes of Bjorklund as well. He's up a couple places. Heinz Braun up 3 places. Reitman had a bit of a dreadful start. He's down 5 places. But again, all 20 of our drivers getting through this first lap, hopefully 1 corner to go, very, very cleanly.
Yeah, these drivers are looking good, and we do see some high quality driving out here every Friday, and really looking forward to what's developing up here between that yellow car 15 of Ryan Odo and Andre Castro. And as I said, we don't see Odo out here often, but he did almost capture the U.S. version of the Radical Sim Racing World Championship a couple weekends ago, that doubleheader that we showed on Apex Racing TV. And here's Castro. He's going to show his nose on the inside of one, and he may still have something here. Can he beat Odo to the next Apex? He is aggressively trying to cut off that first Apex, and he does it. Wow, what a move by Castro. And this one is not over, folks. Odo insanely fast. I know we have seen Castro put on some great performances here on our Friday broadcast, but Odo is no slouch, and he is not going to let Castro get away without a fight.
No, I can't imagine he will. He tries to catch out Andrea under brakes there, but it's not going to catch Castro out. We know how good and consistent he's been all season, and Ryan's going to have to fight this one like a madman. And so is Nathan Saxon. Don't count don't count him out at all heading into these next few laps. He's just biding his time and waiting for these two to go wheel to wheel again, so he can just slip on by, wave to them, and then run off into the distance as Ryan trying to look for any gap. But in this middle sector, there's not really any opportunity to go for an overtake unless the driver ahead of you makes some kind of mistake. But Ryan, I can imagine, is just going to try and put a bit of pressure onto the back of Castro. Going to be a bit difficult for anyone to outrace one another here, as the slipstream is going to be so powerful. A lot of drivers not really using too much of the curbs here, although that's not too surprising. These radicals don't really tend to like them at all. And at a track like Sebring, which is so bumpy, and where you kind of have to use some of the curbs, especially through the Le Mans section, yeah, not that surprising that some cars are struggling, as that might have been contact there through the final corner. Not sure. We might have to get a replay of that. Either that or Castro was actually caught out by Ryan Odo there, but nonetheless, Ryan's put himself back into the pole, and into first place is Andre Castro. Going to come back at him into turn one. He doesn't choose to do so on this lap, and they stay single file going through that first sector, as Paki Caruso setting the fastest lap on the previous lap. But here's a replay of what happened between these two. Didn't quite catch if there was any contact going into the braking zone. No, Andrea just completely caught with his pants down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Odo kind of waiting to the last moment. I don't think Castro was expecting a move there. And Odo showing his skill on the brakes. And as you mentioned, Aaron, patience is a virtue in these cars. It does take some time for the tires to get hot. These cars are very light, so 2 or 3 laps before they reach optimal. And Castro definitely caught out by Odo, and we're going to see some good battling. Was very happy to see Ryan out here, and we'll have to keep an eye on some of our other frequent flyers. But so far, the action up front, Odo leading Castro only 0.2 of a second, and they are just beginning to put a gap on Saxon and P3 behind. So the two of them may end up driving away, and there is Yanakis. He's going to stick it inside of Hulken in there. Looks like that was through going through Collier, and that was a pretty gutsy move, and we'll see if Hulken is going to let that lie. He's going to have an opportunity here on the Ullman Straight as we head down into Sunset. Great stuff so far by these drivers, and no surprise.
Yes, good stuff from everyone, and the entire field only within 10 seconds of each other. Still no big incidents here. Very surprised, but I'm loving it. It's given us some great close racing, and some other drivers coming through the field. Hulkinen looking up the inside of Lear into the final corner. A little bit twitchy under braking, but manages to get it under control. And that should put him into 16th, and should get the tow from the car in front, so shouldn't have to worry about the cars behind. But look how powerful the slipstream is. The fact that cars like Bjorklund and Caruso, cars that are in trains and trying to battle their way through the field, are the ones setting the fastest laps of the race. That's just how powerful the slipstream is, not only at this track, but just in these cars. And even the likes of Ryan Odo was still about a 10th or 2 off Andre Bjorklund on that previous lap. And well, he might find himself under pressure as we head into the hairpin, but Castro didn't choose to go for a move on this lap as Sanchez challenging Saxon into the hairpin. Saxon just about holding the inside line, but Sanchez has got an amazing run coming out of turn 7. Now through turn 8 and 9 we go. He's going to have to be brave on the brakes, and he is. That is fantastic work on the brakes, but they still need to be careful not to make contact as Saxon is still there and now pushing his way back towards the inside as we go into Tower Corner. Franco seems to be very, very good on the brakes, but it's just not enough this time round. And Saxon still holding on to that third place, but they've lost an awful lot of time to the front two ahead. So it's very much Ryan versus Castro now.
Yeah, and behind, I was going to say that Barry had to love that side-by-side action he was seeing in front of him, as the whole loss of pace associated with that is going to push Sanchez right back into him, and we'll see what those three do here now. That is Saxon from Sanchez from Barry. A little further back, here's Caruso's going to try around the outside of Hernandez. Totally doable here. There's numerous lines through Sunset, and oh my
Lord.
goodness, Caruso almost giving Bjorklund mid-afternoon smooch there on Sunset, and that could have ended in calamity. So good work keeping out of the back of the car in front there. My goodness, and look at this traffic jam heading into turn 1.
Oh.
Who is that with a big dive down the inside? That was crazy. Oh my goodness, that was a move there. We may have to ask Josh for another look at that.
God.
And there's another smooch. Oh my goodness. And people are turning up the aggression right now at Sebring as the Florida Heat get into him.
I've never clenched so much in my entire life, and trust me, I've been through a lot of bad bathroom experiences. That was intense going through the first few corners between about 5 cars. That was amazing, as we're still battling, heading towards the hairpin. Little bit of contact there, as that's more contact up ahead, and that was Hernandez getting spun round. Our first incident of the race. Do not reverse back onto the track, Leon. Please be careful, and luckily he manages to rejoin safely. But this looks like that was with Andre Bjorklund, I believe, as we head into the hairpin, and a slight bit of netcode there, ever so slight, but it's just one of those things at iRacing. I don't really think it's anyone's fault, as that's another incident between Bjorklund and Hernandez. Not sure what's happened there. And, well, we hope that there wasn't any, intentional moves there from either driver. We'll get a replay, but they've made contact again. And, oh, God, you can kind of feel the tensions between those two already. And maybe Hernandez feeling a little bit hard done by. Let's have a look at what actually happened between these two. And, no, it was... They both just completely had their own incident. That was very weird, but fair enough. They've both got damaged cars, as Josh wishing controversies in the race. Fair enough. I don't blame you, as, we're going wheel to wheel again between the front two. These guys are just trading places. Fantastic switch back there from Andre Castro to put himself back into the lead of the race, as Barry and Saxon still battling it out for 4th and 5th. And it's just never ending, is it? As Reitinen and Gonzaga, as Friedrich, my apologies, as they all just a huge cluster of cars from about 3rd place all the way down to about 14th.
Yeah, that is fantastic stuff there. And let's take another look at that position change here into turn 1. You're going to see Odo try the inside here. Not an ideal line. And Castro showing his racecraft here. He sees that coming, gives Odo the ole as he sort of watches out, and gives him the beautiful over-under there, textbook. And you could save that and study that. That is absolutely pristine driving by Castro. And my goodness, Aaron, look at that gap up front now. Castro and Odo with about 4/10 between them, and they've put 3 seconds behind them to the P3 driver Sanchez, who's now getting some pressure from Barry. So these two up front are driving away and having their own race as we were anticipating. And in the mid-pack here, it is non-stop action, and that's what I love about these radicals. It doesn't matter where in the pack you are. People are racing hard, they're racing clean, and they're racing respectfully. And my goodness, these guys put on such a great show for us every week, and today is no exception.
No, and I'm happy about that. It's been one of the better and cleaner races we've had so far this season. VIR was an absolute scorker of a race. Anyone I recommend going watching that, as Yanakis getting double duped there, heading into the final corner. Lear and Kadora both following him through. And that's unfortunate as Castro and Odo bit a contact there at the final corner. As we could see a replay of just how quickly, I mean, the slipstream in this car, I mean, it genuinely is just what? Like, it's actually like you're in a completely different class to someone else if the slipstream is powerful enough. Don't know if Yanakis was lifting off there. Maybe a little bit of caution there from the Canadian, but either way, maybe a slowdown as well. Going through the Le Mans section is quite easy to get one, as Gonzaga, I believe, has had some kind of incident coming through turn 3, 4, and 5 as he's dropped right down the order back to 18th. That's unfortunate. He was right in the middle of that pack, battling for 10th, I believe. And we can see what happened to George coming through these first few corners, and it looks to be all by himself, a little bit twitchy on entry, and then just loops it round on exit. And, well, that's not going to help his chances at all.
Yeah, it's you need to trail brake a little bit through that last part section there, through that last left-hander, and looks like he got a little bit too much rotation, started heating up those rear tires, and maybe got on the throttle a little bit too soon and looped it there. So it's kind of a delicate dance that you're doing, getting that car to rotate around the low-speed stuff and getting on the power. You do have to be patient, but you can't wait around for too long, or the people around you will drive away. And looks like we're looking at some replay here, but it's not working on my end, Aaron.
Well, not working for me either, so fantastic. Anyway, we can at least pop back up to the battle between these two. I think they're going to go the full 13 rounds. I'm surprised there wasn't a scorecard before this race between Odo and Castro, as Ryan pops himself back into the lead again. I don't think Castro was choosing to fight that one too much heading through the first corner. And, well, it's just going to be mind games between these two. They're just trading places, trading punches and jabs every single lap. It's just about who's the one to get tired and fatigued first. Once we get to about lap 12 and 13, that's when the gloves come off and, well, the knuckle dusters probably go on. And we probably will get brutal between these two. And I can't wait to see it. It's already been pretty intense between Odo and Castro, and it's going to be a hard-fought race win for Ryan. I can tell at the end he's going to give absolutely everything to this race, and it's going to be very entertaining. Do not go anywhere. We've probably got about another 6 laps left in this race to go, and plentiful battles up and down the field. You've got the battle for the podium going on between Sanchez, Barry, and Saxon, and then a couple cars in the midfield trying to get themselves into the top 10. And then some other cars trying to claw their way back through the field after a difficult time. The likes of Gonzaga, Lear, Karakopoulos, Yanakis has gone into the pits as well. As Caruso definitely looking quick, as is Friedrich. And this is just how close it is at Sebring, as Ryan Odo going a tad bit wide by the looks of it, coming out of Le Mans corner, and that's going to put him way under pressure from Andre Castro. As that was a bit of a punch there from Andre, giving him a bit of a nudge as Ryan swooping around the outside of Sunset Bend. But is it going to be enough? Very tricky to keep an outside line here at Sebring, but we've seen plenty of drivers do it so far in this race. Just goes to show how utterly insane these guys are. And Ryan just about managing to keep the lead there, heading into the first corner as they're coming up on lap traffic. I believe that's Yanakis. Hopefully he can get out of the way and won't interrupt this fight.
Yeah, that was interesting. And you know, after that little hip check there in Sunset, it almost appeared that Castro might have backed out of that and, you know, done the gentlemanly thing and given Odo that position back, because that was a pretty hard hit there. And Castro just might have washed out a little bit, washed out into him, and and done the sportsmanlike move there. And meanwhile, here is back to Sanchez, Berry, and Saxon. Little surprised there hasn't been position swap between Sanchez and Berry, but Sanchez, very quick driver and good defender. And Nathan Saxon just kind of watching this one, watching Sanchez and Berry fight it out for P3. And if something goes sideways in that battle in front of him, he will be in.
Not again.
Will be in beautiful. Yeah. All right. Well, we're just hearing from our producer Josh that he has lost his connection to iRacing, so we are probably going to be staying. I'm not sure who's working the cameras now. Looks like we're staying with Heinz Braun for the moment, and not a bad place to be stuck. That is Braun looking forward at Friedrich and Caruso as they have trained up. And correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, I think Caruso may have been the unguided missile that we saw pass 3 or 4 cars into the hairpin a few laps back that kind of took me and those other drivers by surprise. And now there is... Sorry, that is Friedrich trying the inside of Sunset on Caruso, and Braun sniffing around behind trying to follow him through.
Well, I've just been watching the battle up at the front of the field, and Castro did try and go for the move again into the last corner, but just was not close enough. And Ryan definitely favouring track position here. And it's a bit difficult to tell what's going to be good here. Do you want to get that track position and defend for your life, or would you prefer to gamble on that slipstream being enough to swoop past your opponent, as Andre's still weaving side to side, trying to find the space as we head into turn 7, the hairpin, but still nothing doing for Andre Castro. And, well, it looks like James Barry might have been able to gets into third. Nope, never mind. It's very difficult to try and keep track of everything. This is why I'm not a producer, and why Josh does it for me. We're going nearly 3 wide down into turn 10 between Andreas Friedrich, Heinz Braun, and Paki Caruso, and somehow all 3 of them get through it cleanly. And Andreas Friedrich now putting himself up into 7th place. Very close racing between those guys, and just about keeping it clean as they head through Tower Bend and now down this back straight towards Le Mans, the Le Mans section. And we should hopefully have our pictures back up screen.
My good. And Aaron, if you were doing cameras while you were talking, you get a merit badge for that. That's way above my pay grade. And here we are. Here's Castro just in time. Josh gets reconnected as Castro is going to try the inside of Sunset here. Odo is going to maintain that lead. But Aaron, in response to your question, I think I would want to be on the last lap in P2 coming down the Ullman Straight there. We've seen some epic moves there over the years. I'm thinking in particular of one pulled off by James Berry a couple of seasons ago. And speaking of Berry, there he is, sticking it down the inside of Sanchez. Was waiting for something to happen there, and Berry finally gets that done on turn 1. And looks like Saxon is going to follow him through. Sanchez losing 2 positions there in just a handful of corners. And my goodness, that's got to hurt. He's been running in P3 in a podium position for 10 laps or more, and just like that, poof, it is gone. And we're going to take another look here. Here is Berry taking advantage of that slipstream, and easy peasy right down the middle, right down the inside of turn 1. And Saxon wisely taking advantage of the wide line there taken by Sanchez, and he will move up into P4. And my leaderboard is flashing and clicking. Looks like Castro is back ahead of Odo up front, and riding along now, taking a look at Saxon. Here we are back up front, Castro with Odo behind. We're on lap 11 now, so 3 to go, and really the end game I think is going to come down to hanger straight on the last lap.
I think you might be right on that one, JR, but it's so difficult to tell who's going to be able to win this one. As honestly, it could be a coin flip. I would not recommend, if possible, that anyone would put any bets on this race, because it genuinely would be like tossing a sheet of toilet roll and trying to guess which way it's going to land up. It's You just don't know. And they've been spectacular so far. Are we going to see another position swap heading into the final corner? Ryan seems to love going through Sunset Bend into first. Little bit of a wiggle there. He's not managed to fully get ahead. And imagine if we get a run like this as we head on to the second to last lap. And if they go side by side like that on the last lap to the line, well, I'm going to be screaming and clenching and everything. And I imagine these drivers will be the same as they're still side by side going through turns 2 and 3. Ryan just losing out to Andrea there. Is he going to try and go for another move on this lap? I think we'll have to wait until we get to turn 17. Seemingly his favorite corner at the moment.
Yeah, and that was absolutely sick work by Castro there. He didn't even try to defend the inside, allowed Odo to essentially set up and make the pass on the inside of Sunset, but he carried so much speed through that wide line that he beat Odo down into turn 1 by a mile. So that was incredible. And if you're interested in getting better at Sebring, just take a look at what Castro was able to do there. A full car length or 2 off of the apex of Sunset, was still able to carry enough speed to beat the car that had him by all rights on the inside. And here's Braun and Reitinen side by side here, headed towards Tower. Oh, and there's a little touch. Oh my goodness, Caruso is still causing mayhem back there. Almost turned Reitinen. Reitinen with the quick hands, able to keep himself out of the wall there, but that could have ended in tragedy. And looks like we got a little replay here. Here is Heinz Braun. That may be him slipping past Reitinen, or maybe we're going to take a look at Caruso's work here. We'll stand by as we go under the Chevrolet Bridge into turn 1. And we'll stay with this just for a moment and look at Caruso riding that understeer. Could be really tough in these cars. And yeah, just a good view of those first couple of corners, and another wiggle there by Caruso. And I'm not sure if he had a little smooch on the back by Reitinen there. And meanwhile, up front, the white flag is up, and it's right now it is Castro leading Odo. And again, as Aaron said, we may see this one decided on the backside of the track approaching Sunset.
It's going to be super, super intense when we get all the way back down there, as Ryan, I think, tried to go for another move into turn 1 on this lap, and it just didn't work out for him this time. And he's going to have to hope and pray and see if you're right, Gregory, that it is second place, the place you want to be going into the final lap, the final corner. Is it going to work out for Ryan Odo, or can Andre Castro keep that track position heading through those final few corners as we head through turn 10 and 11, now into turn 12, Tower Corner? And Ryan's going to have to be a bit careful here. He lost a bit of time going through that section. He doesn't want to lose too much, as he's dropped back to nearly half a second. And although the slipstream is very, very powerful, you don't want to be too close to your opponent, but you also don't want to be too far back. Obviously, you kind of need to be in the sweet spot of about, I'd say, 3/10 coming out of Le Mans corners. Here we go. Little bit of a slide for both of them. He's gotten a decent run coming out of the corner, and this is going to be a slipstream fest. Unsurprisingly, Andre Castro wiggling his way all the way down the Ullman Straight as we head into the braking zone of Sunset Bend. Andre Castro leaving the door wide open, but that could be a fantastic tactic to try and launch himself off of the corner. But it could have been a mistake. It could have been a huge mistake. Is he going to lose the lead as they come across the line? 15 thousandths of a second between the front two, but it's Ryan Odo who ends up winning here at Sebring, as James Barry gets the last place on the podium. But that was a dreadful mistake by Castro. He thought that the outside line could give him enough of a boost, but I just think he was a little bit too cautious. Should have pushed the car way harder through that final corner, but it paved the way for Ryan Odo to grab a victory by literally blink. Right now, blink. There you go. He won by that much. Absolutely incredible stuff.
Wow, and fascinating stuff, Aaron. We saw Castro practicing that on a prior lap. He didn't try to cover the inside, let Castro have it, and was able to carry speed around the outside and still beat him across the line, but it didn't work this time. And super interesting development. I mean, we saw the exact same thing unfolding, and here they come side by side through sunset. Castro carrying a lot of speed around the outside, and it almost worked. Oh my goodness, it's just a couple of feet, racing a game of inches, and look at that finish. Holy cow, what a fantastic finish here at Sebring again. And this track has served up some of the best racing that we have seen season after season. Really tremendous stuff.
That was absolutely brilliant. And Ryan, realistically being one of the only people this season who's been able and actually managed to do it, taking on Andre Castro in a 1v1. Because usually we're used to Andrea just getting into the lead and romping away with it. It's very, very rare that we do actually get to see him fighting side by side pretty much every single lap. And Ryan Odo managed to give us that. And it was absolutely glorious. It was amazing between those two. Was mostly clean. I think there was a few nudges here and there, but honestly, if a battle doesn't have a few little door bangs and wheel banging moments, it's a bit boring. You know, get your elbows out, be a bit aggressive, and that's what we got today, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And my goodness, a couple of hard chargers here. Kadura finished plus 10. He's the hard charger of the day there in P10. And Heinz Braun also moved up 6. But Aaron, I'll let you run through the results here, and I'm going to take a peek out in the hall and see if there's any drivers out there waiting to talk to us.
Well, I would absolutely love to talk to some of our drivers. I'm sure they're probably exhausted after that one. And after 14 incredible laps of racing, it was Ryan Odo managing to win by 11 thousandths of a second from Andre Castro. And I could imagine that might feature on a highlight reel somewhere. That was glorious between those two. And James Barry managing to get a podium in the end and getting some decent points in that championship. Let's not forget that. But Castro, of course, did manage to beat him in this round, as Nathan Saxo finishes in 4th place, as Sanchez is in 5th, Friedrich in 6th, Braun in 7th, Caruso in 8th, Iani in 9th, Kadura, like you said, up 10 places in 10th, as he qualified last, and very, very good race from him. As Mika Hulkinen finished in 11th, Chris Wetz in 12th, Ryson in 13th, Hernandez 14th, Kirakopoulos in 15th, Lear 16th, Jenks in 17th, Gonzaga in 18th, and then your last two drivers, Bjorkland and Yanakis in 19th and 20th.
Wow, what a race. And we do have James Barry out here. So we will go ahead and bring in James. And James, wow, the race today was incredible. And normally you're up there at the pointy end of the field, slicing and dicing up front, but today it was Ryan Odo and Castro up there. And it looks like you had your hands full with Sanchez. It took you a while to get through him. So how did the race unfold from your seat?
Well, for me, at the moment, I think all about the championship. I said last week, I think it's over, and little did I realise that it's absolutely not, because the way iRacing was showing the standings was glitching, I guess. And turns out it's super close between me and Andre for the championship. And so today was just damage limitation. When I saw him get, I think at one point he was 4 positions in front of me when I was in 5th and he was in the lead. And I was thinking, man, I just got to keep my head together and just see what can come of this race. Just try and keep my tyres cool and keep it calm, because this track, people make mistakes, and you saw that there, that guy Nathan, who I've never seen before, he made a mistake which separated us from the front two. And yeah, I just managed to get past him and Franco just by staying calm. And then I think Ryan did me a huge favor there with that pass at the end for the win.
Yeah, it was crazy stuff, and I know you watched the broadcast later, and I hope you enjoy that. And I'm looking at. Yeah, I've got the iRacing app on my phone, and it doesn't appear to have updated, but Castro looks like he's only about 214 behind you, and had a pretty low scoring drop. So he may be quite close to you here, and so I'll just have to keep an eye on whether on the points updating. And actually, we're talking about this like this is your last race, but it is not. Week 13, we're heading down to Interlago. So, what are your thoughts about driving the Radicals on that track that is known for multiple hairpins and low speed corners?
It's not one of my favorites. It's one that I kind of struggle at. We had the World Finals recently, and that was a track where, after the first race in the World Finals, I was in a good position, but at Interlagos, I qualified like 7th or something. So not one of my favorites. And just back to the standings again, I think I'm going to be leading by like 20 or so points now after the standings update. So it's going to be super close. And I expect Andre's going to be super fast. And I mean, shout out to Ryan as well, who was super fast this week. And if he comes back next week, he'll be super fast again. So it's going to be very competitive at Interlagos. I think it's a track where a lot of the top drivers really get their groove at that track. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, Odo definitely was the wild card in this race. We haven't seen him. I'm guessing he might be in school or normally at this time of day, but no school the Friday after Thanksgiving here in the U.S. So Odo was out there and really gave Castro a fantastic fight. So yeah, we will have to see what happens at Interlagos, and Ryan is waiting. So when he comes in, I'll ask him, or Aaron will ask him whether or not he's going to be attending next Friday or whether he has to go back to class. But man, my goodness, what a fantastic race. And as we wrap up, James, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to today?
Just shout out everyone in the broadcast. It was interesting seeing some kind of newish faces at the front of the field, Ryan, as you say, and Nathan. And yeah, super good racing, I think, and everything was super clean at the front, although I saw a bit more messy behind maybe, but either way, yeah, really good fun.
Alrighty, well, cheers, James. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next week at Interlagos.
Yeah, see you guys. Cheers, bye.
All right, and we do have Ryan Odo, and I'll drop him off for you, Aaron.
Well, good afternoon, Ryan. It's very, very nice to have you in the commentary booth with us. And, well, wow, it was exhausting to watch that race between you and Castro. How exhausting was it racing it?
Oh, very exhausting. Probably most mentally exhausting, because the whole entire time you're just playing mind games with each other, trying to see who can make the first mistake, and you're just desperately trying not to make a mistake, which is very mentally exhausting, while still focusing on some tips and tricks that you thought for yourself before the race, and trying to not bend at the wall and do as best you can for laps at the same time. So yeah, very mentally exhausting.
Yeah, that's the thing as a driver, especially when you're battling at the front. There's just so much you got to think about. But when you come away with the victory, it's so satisfying. And I can imagine that's exactly what you're feeling right now. But honestly, going into that final corner when you sent it and that run to the line, how high was your heart rate? Did you think you were going to do it?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 150 or something, but I saw him, and I've been watching his line for a couple laps now. I noticed he left a tiny bit of space on the inside, and I'm like, it's the last lap. I'm not part of this championship. What can go wrong? So I just sent it, honestly trying to make as much space for him so I wouldn't crash him out, because that wouldn't look very good if I crashed him out and crossed the line first. So I just sent it on him. He gave me the room, I gave him the room, and I thought he was going to get me on that run because he had a better run through the outside line, but somehow I just barely managed to hold it over him. It was exhausting.
Yeah, it looked it, and we were screaming up here in the commentary booth. It was brilliant watching you both go at it for so long. It was amazing. But going into next week and future rounds, of course, we've got the next season coming up in a few weeks' time. Will we be seeing you again here on Friday, or is this kind of your one little guest appearance for the season?
You will see me here and there, especially towards the end of December and early January. You'll see me a little bit more often, but for around here, it's probably the worst time I could have it. When we had the time change, I was excited. I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to switch to 3 p.m. my local time, but no, switch to 1 p.m. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. So you'll see me on some of the every occasional Friday, but don't count me in on every race, but I'll try and make as many as I can.
Well, I hope we can get you as often as possible, because, I mean, that was just brilliant to watch. It was so exciting. And it's left everyone here with a smile on our face. But thank you for your time, Ryan. A pleasure to see you in this lobby and also coming and having a chat with us. And before we let you go, anyone you want to give a mention or shout out to?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to give a shout out to all the racers here, obviously, for putting up an amazing fight. I would like to say a shout out to you guys for doing an amazing job commentating, and I'd like to thank everyone watching for tuning in and watching this exciting race.
Very, very kind words there, Ryan, and we all appreciate them indeed. And once again, thank you for your time, Ryan, and enjoy the win, and we hope to see you back here again very, very soon.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was your winner, Ryan Odo, on a unusual appearance here at our Friday 2100 GMT broadcast. But he is fast, he is crafty, and he's able to keep it chill under pressure there, battling the likes of Castro up front. So congrats to Ryan. Great race for him. And folks, we are not just about the radicals here on Apex Racing TV. We have got some of the best drivers, best cars, and best tracks in the business. And this weekend, as the weather is cooling off, the racing is heating up. On Sunday, we have the Racing Unleashed GT3 Series at Sebring, and on Monday, Rick Matek World Challenge Mixed Class Sports Car Racing will be taking place at Road America, which is a fantastic place to watch those GT cars and prototypes mix it up. And on Thursday, speaking of prototypes, the Apex Racing League prototype championship will bring a full field of top-level prototypes to Daytona. And if you haven't watched one of those, I recommend it. It is fantastic racing, and it's one of those instances in iRacing where we get to simulate something which couldn't happen in real life, because you'll see a field of 40 prototypes, and I'm pretty sure that's more than actually exists in the world right now, at least definitely not running. So fantastic racing, Apex Racing League on Thursday. So tune in for that. And my goodness, what a fantastic show here at Sebring. And thank you so much for joining us for today's broadcast of the Radical Esports Cup. And be sure to join us next Friday, 2100 GMT, for more Radical action as we head down to Interlagos for the season finale. So this is JR Gregory on behalf of myself, my partner Aaron Smith, our producer Joshua Wilkie, and everyone here at Apex Racing TV. Have a great Friday and an even better weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.